What up, gang? Carolina Jackpot time coming at you Sunday afternoon. Week 4 of the college football season is in the books. And it is an unseasonably, well, it's hot here today in the upstate of South Kakalaki. We're hitting around 90 degrees today. And I don't know about you guys, but if you don't live in Florida, then you don't want to live in Florida because you didn't move there, and I didn't, right? So I don't really like this weather. There's something about that fall heat that just gets you because they've spoiled you with a little bit of nice, crisp, cool mornings and all that shit. And then here comes July the 14th back again. So we'll have to get through this. But at any rate, hope you guys checked out some college football yesterday. But if you didn't, Carolina Jackpot's here to recap all that stuff from yesterday. We're going to talk about the Gamecocks. We're going to talk about the Clemson Tigers. And we're going to talk about big winners and losers all across the world of college football. But before we get into that, if you're new around here, stay true around here, hit the thumbs up on this video, please, if you enjoy the content that you see here today. And subscribe to this channel if you're not subscribed already. We have a heck of a good time here doing college football videos, live streaming games. We live streamed one last night, Tennessee, and we live streamed the South Carolina versus Akron matchup, which are both wins for SEC programs there. And you know, just I appreciate everybody that shows up for the live streams. With that being said, let's get into yesterday's action, shall we? With the Gamecocks, 50-7 win over Akron at home. Looked kind of unimpressive there for a while, and this thing was 29-7 going into the fourth quarter, and it didn't even look like the Gamecocks were going to cover the spread there, but they exploded for 21 points in the fourth quarter, and they put that game away. It was a dominating performance by South Carolina's defense in all facets there. They allowed Akron just absolutely meager. And we'll get into that here just a second, if Carolina Jackpot can ever get his stuff right. They allowed Akron 117 yards through the air, 37 yards on the ground. That's a total of about 150 yards or so. Guy threw a touchdown pass and one interception. All around really, really good performance by Carolina. Defensively, looking at the Gamecocks, didn't really see a whole lot of pressure in the backfield last night because Akron was trying to get off some really quick passes to avoid that stuff. But we still were able to get 2 sacks, half a sack by Kyle Kennard, half of one by Devo Williams, and then a full sack late in the game by number 49, Rondarius Ronnie Porter. That was nice to see some, second and third teamer scout type players getting into the action yesterday. I was really, really excited to see some of the stuff I saw here. Actually, our man Dylan Stewart, only 2 total tackles yesterday, 1 solo. I don't know, his stats the past couple of games haven't been as eye popping as they were. I think he's getting a lot of attention from blockers from these other teams. They're bringing some help in terms of running backs and in terms of getting double teamed a little bit there. So he's not able to make the plays that he was making, but still, he takes 2 guys. That's tying up one that would be blocking somebody else. So still a great performance there by South Carolina's defense. Probably one of the better ones I've seen the past 10 years or so. Should have shut them out, really. And it should have been 50-0, but I'll take 50-0. Rushing the ball, not a great day running the ball last night for South Carolina. Of course, Rocket Sanders went out hurt really, really early in the game. He had 1 carry for 1 yard. He kind of messed his ankle up a little bit. They put him in a boot, and then he took the shoulder pads and all that stuff off. Beamer said that he's fine. It's not a lingering issue, and it's not going to be anything long term. So, hopefully we'll choose to believe you there. But, he also told us that Lenore Sellers was probably going to play Saturday night, and that didn't happen. And, that it's probably all precautionary. But I was really proud to see that the team was able to win in convincing fashion, basically missing 2 key cogs in the offensive wheel. Robbie Ashford throws last night for 243 yards, 15 of 21, 2 touchdowns, no interception. Davis Bevel comes in the game later in the fourth quarter there. Greenville, South Carolina product out of Greenville High. 4 for 6, 33 yards. He threw a touchdown to Connor Cox, a backup tight end. That was good to see Connor get a touchdown catch there for Carolina. So on to the bye week after this one is now in the books. And then we will have Ole Miss. That'll be a home game. Not this coming Saturday. It'll be next Saturday after that on October the 5th. And don't really know yet if that's going to be like a 3:30 game, a 4:30 game, or if it's going to be a primetime game. I'm hoping that it's going to be a primetime game. That's going to be a big one for South Carolina. I mean, Ole Miss has been an absolute buzzsaw this year. They've just been destroying teams. Did it again yesterday, 52-13 over Georgia Southern. And they play Kentucky this week. The Kentucky matchup will go a long way towards, kind of knowing what to expect from Ole Miss against an SEC type of team. I looked, and I think Kentucky only opened up as like a 16.5-point underdog, which I thought seemed really low. I'm sure that's going to be bet way up, and Ole Miss will be a 3-touchdown favorite by the time that thing kicks off. But South Carolina's going to have to play lights out defensively. They're going to need an effort like they did last night, and then plus much more to have a chance at beating Ole Miss. That's going to be a big one. But we head into the break with a 3-1 record, which is exactly what Carolina Jackpot predicted it to be. In the offseason when I made my prediction video back in June, I told you 3-1 would be the record going into the bye week. And I was wrong about the SEC games. I had us actually losing to Kentucky and beating LSU, which we almost did and should have done. We should be 4-0 right now, but we're not. We're 3-1, and they're a really good 3-1 team. Speaking of teams that have one loss that are really good, the Clemson Tigers, man, 59-35 win over NC State yesterday in a game that it was not that close. It was not 59-35 close. That implies that NC State, if you just looked at that score, you would think NC State was actually in this ball game at some point. They were not. They were down here. It looked 45-7 at halftime. Just absolutely got destroyed. They put up 21 points in the fourth quarter, and that was where they were able to get some kind of measure of, making the score look respectable. Cade Klubnik takes off on a 55-yard touchdown run on like the third play of the game. Antonio Williams, a player that I don't really like at all, I've made no bones about that, number 0, catches a couple of touchdown passes from Klubnik. Phil Maffa, who our buddy what's his name, Pat McAfee said, that's a bad Maffa. Phil Maffa on the ground for Clemson yesterday. What kind of damage did he do? Let's see what kind of damage he did. 107 yards on the ground, only 7 carries at 15 yards a carry. Pretty impressive. Our buddy Walt Deptula over at 105.5 The Roar had him as a dark horse Heisman contender. I think that's not happening. I mean, he had a terrible game against Georgia. So, you got to have good games in all 12 in order to be a Heisman contender. But whatever. I mean, good game there by Maffa. I don't know if this is – I don't really know if this is as much an indictment on how good Clemson has gotten, or, you guessed it, how bad NC State is. And you know that I'm not going to be able to give full credit to Clemson, especially don't give full credit to teams I don't like. NC State is awful. They are probably the most disappointing team in the power conferences right now. Just given their performance against the 2 lower-level schools that they played, barely eking out wins, and then just getting totally mouth-pumped by both Clemson and Tennessee a couple of weeks ago. Very, very disappointing there. I was counting on them to do a lot more than that this season. So, back to the drawing board here for NC State. Things are not going to get any easier for them either because next week they're at home against Northern Illinois, and a team that's fully capable of beating them. We already seen them beat Notre Dame. What makes you think they couldn't beat NC State? I think they absolutely could, and I think they may. NC State's favored by a touchdown, 7.5. It's too much. got Wake Forest the next week, then Syracuse, Cal, the usual cast of suspects here. Stanford coming up. So, yeah, good win there for Clemson. They put a total of 254 yards on the board through the air and 269 on the ground. So, combined, that's over 500 yards of total offense. Pretty good for the Tater man there. Got everybody into the game. Good solid win for Clemson. Not taking anything away from them, but once again, level of competition's got a lot to do with this. Yeah, I mean, you can't make me think that you're that much different than you were week one when you played Georgia, when they just absolutely just smashed you in the mouth. And they were missing a lot of players too. So Clemson plays somebody valid. When do they actually play somebody valid? Next week they're playing Stanford at home. That's going to be an interesting game. They're a 22-point favorite here right now. I'm telling you, I know they've came out and smashed teams, but the key with Clemson is these teams are letting them start too fast. App State let Clemson start really fast, and so did NC State. Stanford's got to come out there, probably, I would say, get the ball first if you win the coin toss. Try to get ahead of them, punch them in the mouth, and let's see where we can go from there. We saw NC State's quarterback. The little kid had a little bit of success when he was able to bounce outside and kind of run the ball around a little bit. Stanford's going to do that with Ashton Daniels. So hopefully he's able to get some stuff going on the ground there, kind of keep Clemson off balance for a while, and then force them to either, kind of play from behind and maybe get in a situation where they're trying to hurry up, and we'll get Klubnik to make some mistakes, which he's prone to do. So that's going to be interesting there. I also thought it was really strange. I looked ahead 2 weeks. Clemson's actually, according to the CBS Sports website right now, they were actually 4.5-point underdogs against Florida State right now. Yeah, I don't get that one either, and that will change, obviously. But anyway, Clemson with a good win there. They're saying they're the best one-loss team in the country. I don't know. I guess it's kind of hard to argue with them. Florida to Mississippi State. Mississippi State really disappointed me. I expected a little bit better of an effort from them. Florida threw the ball down really well yesterday between Lagway and Graham Mertz. Graham Mertz 201 yards through the air. DJ Lagway 76 yards through the air. 7-7 passing for DJ Lagway. They still look like the Mississippi State's defensive backs are awful, and they have absolutely no pass rush either. They just look like their feet were stuck in mud. And they are, without a doubt, the worst team in the SEC. Sitting here at 1-3, you got to feel bad for them. This is a shitty situation that they're in right now. It's a shit situation with what happened with the passing away of Mike Leach, and then they go and hire a guy to be the coach. He was kind of a sentimental hire, I guess, in Zach Arnett. Why? Because he was the defensive coordinator when your coach passed away. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be hateful sounding, but I mean, to me, that's not a good enough reason to hire somebody for a job. But they had to make a quick hire, and I get that. So that was a terrible hire to make. They let him come in there, and then he just desecrated everything Mike Leach had done. So we're gonna change the offense up. They're digging themselves out of a hole for a few years here. I think Jeff Lebby's a good coach. I think he could eventually get the job done, get them to a 7-8 win team, something like that. Their ceiling's kind of low at Mississippi State, but losing to Florida at home like that, inexcusable. Indiana keeps rolling 52-14 over Charlotte. I had Indiana covering the spread there. I actually hit a 5-leg parlay yesterday. I have it over on the community tab if you want to go check it out. I can't remember I don't remember all the games that I bet there, but all 5 of them hit, and my $15 won in excess of $300. So yay, pay the fat man. Maryland rolls over Villanova. Who cares? James Madison 70-50 over North Carolina. This is a game. This was crazy. Was just watching the scores of this thing. I had some really strange scores at one point in the game. It was like 11-7, and then you turn around and look, and then it's like 41-something. James Madison's on top. They were on top at halftime against UNC, 53-21. was the most points that Maryland. Maryland. Can I get my teams right here? North Carolina's given up in a half ever. And this was also tied for the most points that they had given up in a total game ever. James Madison put 70 points on the board there against UNC. Their quarterback, Alonzo Barnett, 388 yards through the air, 5 touchdowns, and they also ran it for 223 yards. Jesus, that is really, really bad. North Carolina, though, on the other hand, Jacoby Criswell passed for 475 yards. 3 touchdowns, and he threw 2 picks, though. And then they Omarion Hampton rushed for 139 yards. So a ton of offense in that game. If you like points, you love it. I'm a Patreon member of a guy that I get some betting advice from, the Big Man on Campus. I don't know if any of y'all know who that is, but you can go check out Big Man on Campus, Jeff Nadeau, over on Twitter. He actually told us to bet the under in this game. The under was like 47 or something. I'm like, well, dude, whoo, that was a bad take there. I don't know why you would think that. I mean, North Carolina's defense has been known for being awful, and they were absolutely awful yesterday. And I got a Facebook message this morning from someone that told me that Mac Brown had stepped down. Actually, the quote said, "Carolina Jackpot, I know you hate UNC. You'll be glad to know that Mac Brown has stepped away." But then everything I read proved that was fake news. He hasn't stepped away. He gave a statement that he was not stepping away, which I think that would probably be the best thing for this team right now, because that's horrible. I joked about it yesterday and said I thought he might do a Steve Spurrier and run away. It might be in his best interest to do that. Wow, terrible. 34-0 Houston loses to Cincinnati. Good win for Cincinnati. West Virginia, 32-28 win over Kansas. Really pissed me off here. Garrett Green throws a touchdown pass with 26 seconds left. And West Virginia, who was down 28-17 with 5 minutes left in this ball game, comes back and wins 32-28. So this week they did the exact opposite of what was done to them last week by Pitt. So, I mean, that's good resolve there by West Virginia. They go to 2-2. Kansas is now 1-3. Wow. Kansas is down bad, man. Down real bad. Army, 37-14 over Rice. That was one of the games in my parlay. Big win here for the black and gold, the old the Black Knights of the Hudson there. Quarterback throws for 120 yards. They rushed for 288 on the ground. So always going to roll up a lot of yards on the ground if you are Army. Kentucky, 41-6 win over Ohio. A lot of these games I'm just really looking at for the first time. I didn't watch any of this game. There was something else on that I was more interested in when this one was going on. Brock Vandergrift, 237 yards through the air yesterday. Much better performance by him. And they also ran the ball for 206 yards. So you saw a bevy of running backs there kind of all get together and run for over 200 yards. Dane Key, 145 yards receiving. So good win there by the Kentucky Wildcats over the MAC team. And they will head to Ole Miss this coming up week, and that's going to be a big one there. Kentucky came up big against Georgia, and I mean, say what you want. You can say it was Georgia didn't play well, but I mean, Kentucky had every chance in the world to win that ball game. So we'll see what happens with the one between them and Ole Miss. I personally think Ole Miss probably jumps ahead of them like 28-0 in the first quarter and cruises to a victory. But Kentucky definitely defensively is a team that could give Ole Miss problems if anybody's going to give them problems. 52-7, Iowa State over Arkansas State. Virginia beats Coastal 43-24. This was in Conway, South Carolina, at Brooks Stadium. They hosted the second time they've hosted a power conference team in Conway. I don't know. This game was on ESPN Plus, so not a lot of you probably saw much of it, but I watched a little bit of it. First of all, I want to say that surf turf is what they call it down there, that teal turf at Coastal Carolina. does not look good on television, especially during a day game where the sunlight's hitting and reflecting off of it. It looks awful. And now, I mean, God knows how much money they spent on installing it a few years ago when they did. So it would cost, tons of money to take it up and put a regular looking turf down. But if you could get one for free from somewhere, like off Craigslist or something, if there was a turf that you could get installed, I'd go on ahead and do that because that thing looks like shit. Anyway, Virginia 43-24 over Coastal. Just from start to finish, dominated Coastal Carolina. I thought that they actually could hang in this ball game. They couldn't. I knew that if Virginia played up to their potential, that they probably could blow Coastal out. But Virginia hasn't been playing up to their potential lately, which is why I thought Coastal stood a chance. They didn't. Let's see here. What else? Penn State 56-0 over Kent State. Carolina had the over in that game, and it was 56. So that was a push, I guess. They don't allow Kent State to score a single nary a point. And good win there for Penn State. They got a big game on deck coming up this weekend against Illinois at home. That's going to be a good matchup. 27-24 Michigan with the win over Southern Cal. Southern Cal was everybody's darling. They were everybody's pick. I'm sorry. Look, everybody thought of this and they based this on Michigan got blown out by Texas. Okay. A lot of people are going to get blown out by Texas. USC ain't Texas. They are not Texas. And Michigan kind of bounced back yesterday from getting punched in the mouth. They score a touchdown with 37 seconds left in the game and win the ball game 27-24 over the Trojans, who fall to 2-1, and Michigan is sitting there now at 3-1, 1-0 in Big Ten play. The Clemson fans are telling me they're the best one-loss team in the country, and it's not particularly close. I think Michigan might have something to say about that. I know they were blown out by Texas, but it's Texas. And look here, Tater Man, they didn't get blown out as bad as y'all did against Georgia. They did not get blown out like you did against Georgia. Yes, y'all have had some explosions in terms of offensively, but defensively, I still think Michigan is way ahead of where you are. They're not allowing a bunch of garbage points against garbage teams, which is what you've been doing also, making the scores look like they're not as good. So I think Michigan's probably one of the best one-loss teams. Taters think it's them. UCLA 34-17 over UCLA, probably about what I expected. They didn't cover the spread, and I didn't think they would. I wouldn't lay points with LSU this year if you just dropped $500 in my pillowcase in the morning and told me, here, this is for you. If you'll just say LSU's going to cover the spread, I'm not going to do it. I don't like LSU, and I have to win another damn game the rest of the year. 28-3 Notre Dame over Miami, Ohio. Not a surprising result there. Didn't cover the spread though. Notre Dame, I don't know why they dink around with some of these teams, and some of them they just blow them out. Hard to get a beat on them, which tells me Notre Dame is not a playoff team. They're not consistent, and they will lose another game to someone they're not supposed to at some point in the season. Louisville 31-19 winners over the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Kind of pull away there in the fourth quarter. Georgia Tech actually, Haynes King did pretty well for himself yesterday. 312 yards through the air. And they only rushed for 98 yards, which is kind of the opposite of what they've been doing. But that when he threw for 312 yards, they weren't able to throw any touchdowns. Now, it doesn't matter if you can set up scores. But Louisville, a little bit too much there for Georgia Tech, and I kind of thought they would be. Arkansas 24-14 over Auburn. Man, Auburn is bad. They're one of the worst teams in the SEC themselves. Losing like this at home to Sam Pittman is not acceptable. Not acceptable at all. This is another one that was going on right in the middle of some other games I was watching. But Taylon Green, not a real good performance either. 151 yards passing, only 12 of 27, one touchdown, and 2 interceptions. And what was up with Auburn here? I thought that Peyton Thorne had gotten benched. Looks like Hank Brown only threw 13 balls, completed 7 of them, threw 3. Oh, okay, he got benched is what it was. My God. Just terrible there by Auburn. Yeah, I don't know where they turn from here. They're sitting here at 2-2, and then they have got a game coming up. I believe Oklahoma is coming to Jordan-Hare Stadium this coming week. That's going to be a battle of two teams that aren't real good. Rutgers beats Virginia Tech 26-23. They're actually up on Virginia Tech. I believe it was 23-7. And then Virginia Tech comes back, ties the ball game up. Rutgers has to go down and get a field goal from Jay Patel to win that thing there in Lane Stadium. But that was one of my picks yesterday. I told you Rutgers were going to beat Virginia Tech. And they absolutely went out there and did just that. Big performance on the ground there. Up in Blacksburg from Kyle Monungai, 84 yards on the ground, which is that's not one of his better games. But then they also got 60 yards from Samuel Brown, 153 total on the ground. The quarterback, Ethan Kalakakamakis, he's from a transfer from Minnesota, 269 yards passing. Kyron Drones for Virginia Tech just continues to be very disappointing. 13-27, no tutties, and an interception. They did have a big day from their running back, Bayshield, I can't pronounce this guy's name, Tootin, 122 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Still not enough. Virginia Tech eats dick again and loses. Texas Tech, big win, 30-22 over Arizona State. Navy, 56 points they put on the board, beating Memphis, who had a big win last week over Florida State, 56-44. Wow. Utah, 22-19 winners over Oklahoma State here at home, or on the road in Stillwater. Actually, Isaac Wilson, the backup quarterback, leads Utah to a victory. This deal with this Cam Rising fellow, that's really, I don't know. It's starting to get old to me. I hear about it all the time. It's starting to get old and played out. I mean, is he that damn good? Really? I mean, it looks like you keep on winning games without him. You're 4-0. I would almost just move on because, I mean, even if he is healthy. Because, I mean, it's like the guy plays one week, he doesn't play the next. He plays one week, he don't play the next. It's like this fucking quarterback hokey pokey, and I've got to, I don't know. At some point, it makes you question his dedication to. But I mean, he's been there for like 7 years, so maybe he is really dedicated. Maybe it is all just shit luck. But I mean, at some point, you need to move on and start building for the future. If you're Kyle Whittingham in Utah. But a 22-19 win on the road in Stillwater with the backup quarterback, that's a good win. Duke blows out Middle Tennessee State 45-17. This game here, Missouri and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt loses to Mizzou 30-27 here. This game was just absolutely gut-wrenching. They were tied at 20 at the end of regulation. And then so Vanderbilt missed a field goal there at the end they ended up losing a 31-yarder that should have been a chip shot for Vanderbilt. And you got to feel bad for them there, but down it, buddy, 31-yarder, you got to poke that through the uprights. But Vanderbilt, I knew when I saw this line come out that was way too much. San Diego Pavia, as I'm calling him now, the Padre, 14 of 23, 178 yards, and then he also ran for 84 yards. Brady Cook, 23 of 37, 226 yards. That's Nate Noel, though, for Mizzou is the real deal. This guy runs 24 times for 199 yards. That's absolutely outstanding. Luther Burden hauls in 2 touchdown passes, 76 yards on the day. I don't know. These stats from Brady Cook are not eye-popping stats. I really don't know. He seems like he's kind of regressed a little bit from what he was last year. I don't know if there's some pieces around him that he had last year that he doesn't have this year that's causing this, but Vanderbilt really gave them some problems yesterday. Got to feel bad for them. I would have liked to have seen them win that game. Now, I like Mizzou. I call into their podcast all the time. If you watch my live streams, you see me do that a lot. But, I mean, fair is fair. And at some point, you got to see the little guy. You like to see them when they're getting kicked in the face every week, finally come up and win something big. And make no mistake about it, this would have been a huge, huge win for them. They didn't win an SEC game last year. They won 2 back in 2022, but those were against Kentucky and Florida, both terrible teams. And, Mizzou is actually ranked number 7. Whether they're the number 7 team in the country, right, I don't know. I don't know if the polls have come out yet or not, but they need to be dropped a little bit. They're not the number 7 team in the country. They just simply aren't. Offensive explosion in Fort Worth. SMU wins the Battle of Dallas there, 66-42 against TCU. My God. Some of these games, you wish you had watched them. But then again, there's always YouTube, so you can go back and look at this stuff. But Josh Hoover, 396 yards through the air for TCU, 3 tutties, 2 interceptions, though. And for SMU, that Jennings, only 137 yards. They had 238 yards on the ground. So SMU with a huge win against TCU there in a game that I would have to have think they were home team. Let's see. Were they? I don't know. It doesn't say right here, but I would think that TCU probably was an underdog going into that game. A good win there by the Mustangs. Liberty, 35-24 over East Carolina at home. It did what they had to do. I thought that East Carolina might stand a chance to pull an upset there in that game. Washington rolls over Northwestern, 24-5. Boy, bet a lot of people were interested in that one. 5. Damn. Miami 50-15 over South Florida yesterday, and this is another one. I told you this was probably going to happen. South Florida has been really, really competitive with Alabama, and they hadn't done much else. I mean, I really don't know what the infatuation there is. This was actually 15-14 at one point with UCF ahead with 2:36 left in the second quarter, and then Miami just did nothing but poured on from that point on. 41 points unanswered, or no, I'm not mathing here today. 36 points unanswered. Big 50-15 win. They go on the road, blowout. South Florida. Cam Ward, 404 yards through the air. And they do also get additional 188 yards on the ground. I had somebody commenting on one of my videos that, if Shane Beamer gets gone from Carolina jackpot, that you want to see Alex Goldich be the next head coach. Yeah, okay, right, whatever. I don't want somebody that does nothing but stay competitive against Alabama and then can't do much else. Sorry there, Tennessee man. 14-9, Florida State finally wins the game against Cal. That was part of my parlay. I had them winning that game and covering. Just because, look, I knew Florida State eventually. First off, I knew that Cal's not going undefeated. They're a decent team. They're not that good. And I knew that it was time for Florida State to finally stop fucking around. They had to get off the mat at some point. They're not going to go 0-12. I mean, that's just stupid talk. But 14-9, a big win at home here over the Cal Golden Bears. The Ukulele, 16-27, 177 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Then their led Lawrence Tofield, 80 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Now, it wasn't pretty. I mean, this game, I didn't watch any of it. A 14-9 score, that had to be bowl and shoe ugly, but they got the job done and helped pay the fat man. So I'm all good with that. Here's some other games. Didn't mean a whole lot here. And then Texas A&M, nobody watched this one either. We weren't talking about it. They get a 26-20 win against Bowling Green at home. Bowling Green does nothing but just scare the absolute shit out of everybody, don't they? Wow, with Texas A&M. I can't get it. Yeah, it looks like Texas A&M had the lead the entire time in this game, but Bowling Green kept it close throughout. Connor Bazelak, former Missouri quarterback, 20 of 36, 250 yards for Bowling Green. Is he a freshman or redshirt freshman? I think he's a freshman here. Marcel Reed from the Nashville area, 173 yards through the air for Texas A&M. He's the backup quarterback. I'm assuming that Connor Wegman, this is another one that just, never seems to play. We talked about this when we did our preview on him, that I felt like they could have a good season if he would stay healthy, and he's not. I mean, these same guys seem to have problems all the time, and it may just be bad luck, but I don't know. 26-20, Texas A&M really impresses no one. 31-14, Iowa with a good home win, or a good road win, in Big Ten play over Minnesota. Ole Miss with the offensive explosion again, 52-13 over Georgia Southern at home. Let's see, Jackson Dart, 22 of 31, 382 yards. Just a regular day at the office, 4 touchdowns. Rushing the ball, they ran for 219 yards there, led by Henry Parrish. And looks like Trey Harris hauled in 11 catches for 225 yards. This guy's an animal. Our buddy Antoine Wells, caught 3 passes for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. So congratulations to Antoine. You're really making a mark down there, sir. I don't know if you've looked at his stats, but they're absolutely no better than what he would have done at South Carolina had he remained there last year. Now this year, look, I can't 100% say that you might not have made the right decision by leaving, because the throw game is just definitely not part of South Carolina's repertoire right now. But it's also a thing about, we got you from a group of 5 school and bring you here into the SEC, onto the big stage, and then you kind of lied all last year about your injury, and then you decide to go down there and play for Lane Kiffin, known carpetbagger, known doucher. And I'm going to sit here and tell you people there's something else too. A guy over on one of the SEC podcasts is talking about him. Well, he won't leave Ole Miss this year because Ole Miss is going to be a playoff team. He won't leave there to take the job at Florida if they fire Billy Napier, not with his team being in a contention for the playoffs or having a playoff spot. I'm going to tell you something. He absolutely will leave. If the money is right and it's what he wants, he will leave. It's all about him. I don't know what, I don't know what we can say to get that through people's thick skull. He will leave and go to Florida, especially if they take a couple of losses to Georgia and whoever else, Alabama, they play Alabama, I don't know. If they get a couple of losses and they're going to go in as like a 10-2 team, and he's seated 10th, 11th, somewhere like that, in one of those spots where he's going to have to really come from behind and have a real huge performance in the playoffs to win that natty. He won't think twice about it. He will not think twice about it. Because, you've got 12 teams in the playoffs now, guys. Think about it. You got 12. It's not as special as it was when there was just 4 in there. And not saying that it's not special, but it's going to be a little bit different. Making the playoffs is obviously not going to be as hard as it once was to do. It's going to let more teams in there to have a little bit more of a chance. But if he's seated down really low, I really don't think that he'd have any problem leaving you. Now, if he's going in, if they're undefeated and they're number 1 in the country, then yeah, we'll talk. If he wins the SEC championship and out, yeah, we'll talk then. Maybe not, but I don't trust him at all. 51-3, Texas all over UL Monroe. Boston College ekes out a win, 23-19 against Michigan State. Does not cover the spread there. Overtime, Colorado 38-31 win here over Baylor. Looks like Baylor scored in overtime there. It looks like they got a Hail Mary. I didn't watch any of this game either, unfortunately. Shadur Sanders throws a Hail Mary pass up. Jonte Webster catches that one and sends them to overtime. But, whatever. Colorado, another one of those teams that nobody really likes, unless you're a Colorado man or a Deion Sanders fan. So I'm not impressed with anything they're doing. Baylor's having a tough season too. So It's not like you went out and beat someone of a whole lot of substance there. Apologies to Baylor man, longtime subscriber to the channel and longtime friend over here, but the truth, dude. I mean, your team's not that great, so it's not that great of a win for Colorado. They're going on the road this coming week to take on UCF at 3:30 in Orlando. Newsflash: they're going to get hammered. They're going to get absolutely. They're going to get their they're going to get their butthole exploded on live television. And then the nightcap, which is another one, Carolina jackpot hit a little bit of ching on. With the money line upset, BYU taking down Kansas State 38-9. I think I told you guys yesterday that this was very likely to happen, and I thought that it could be so. Strange things has happened there in Provo, Utah, especially at nighttime. We've seen a lot of teams over the years go out there and struggle against BYU, teams that on paper were probably better and should have been better and should have beaten BYU, but they just weren't able to. When the Bicycle College gets to rolling, there's not a lot you can do to stop them. You look at their stats too. I mean, they're not that impressive. 149 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, and 1 touchdown on the ground. Only rushed for 92 yards here. Let's see. I mean, where did we? DJ Giddens with a fumble for Kansas State. I don't know. This one was, I watched some of it, had some of it on, then I fell asleep, and I woke back up, and, they just absolutely got abused by BYU. But a good win there for the Cougs. They're 4-0 now, and can't tell me they should not be ranked after that big win. Oh, yeah. What are we missing here? What are we missing? We're missing a team. Who's that? Oh, yeah. Tennessee, 25-15 over Oklahoma. Hey, you got to give credit where credit's due. Got to give the devil his due here. Tennessee kind of blew Oklahoma out. This was not another game that really wasn't as close as 25-15 would look. Nico, semi-impressive, 13 of 21, 194 yards. Kind of a ho-hum day there at the office for him. But his passing numbers have not been exactly... Hush! His passing numbers have not been exactly eye-popping this year because they're doing it all on the ground. Dylan Sampson, 92 yards, and Deshaun Bishop at 65 there. Oklahoma, looks like Michael Hawkins, was that the backup quarterback, came in. Jackson Arnold, I don't remember if he got hurt. I don't remember why he was out of the game. I don't know if he got benched or what. But, yeah, that's a big win there for Tennessee. I told everybody it was going to be a big win if they won it. It doesn't matter, what you think of Oklahoma. They're sitting here at 3-1 now. They're not good. They're just not very good at all. They rushed the ball yesterday for 35 yards. Now, that's just terrible. It's just terrible, and you can tell me all night long about how great Tennessee's defense is. I mean, if you're a legit top 15, top 20-ish type team, you should be able to muster some kind of a running game, and they're just not able to do it. Weren't able to do much through the air either. Kind of embarrassing, honestly, if you're Oklahoma for that kind of performance at home. You can't just really brush that one off and say, "Ooh, they're just not good." A lot of people thinking Tennessee may be, worthy of being ranked number 1 at some point this year. I don't know. I'm still, and it's not because I don't like Tennessee, which I don't. I'm still not buying it. There's something there that's missing. It seems like you're missing a piece on the outside that could be like a real game changer. It seems like you're missing that and someone you're really going to need to step up in terms of receiving the ball. If you're going to beat these teams like Georgia, if you're going to beat the Alabamas of the world, we'll see. We'll see what you got going on there. But I'm still not. You're going to be really good, and I think you're going to make the college football playoff. But I don't see you being worthy of ranked number 1 at any point, especially if Georgia keeps winning. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So anyway, Tennessee though with a good win, 25-15 over Oklahoma. They covered that spread. There's a lot of craziness about that spread. Are they going to cover it or they're not? Is there anything weird going on with that spread? Well, in the end, it wasn't. you did kind of blow them out, but you kind of didn't blow them out, because on paper, when we looked at the score, you didn't blow them out. But if we watched the game, then we realized, yes, Tennessee pretty much blew them out, and they didn't stand a chance. Excuse me. So that's a recap of week number 4 in the college football season. It was, not the greatest slate of games, but there's always some excitement there. That I mean, the Missouri Vanderbilt game was one of the better ones that I've seen in a while. That was one of the best games that I've watched. I was really disappointed for Vanderbilt. I wish they could have been able to pull that game out. Nothing, against Mizzou, but sometimes you like to see these teams that are struggling kind of find their way and get themselves a win. But it wasn't to happen yesterday. And I know everybody be running down the comment section too, tell everybody how South Carolina is going to lose to Vanderbilt. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Because they lost a game yesterday. Makes sense. Anyway, I'll see you guys later on. I know it's been a long video, but hey, we have a lot to talk about here this afternoon. Appreciate you very much. Peace, and I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks. Woo!